at the Parent and Caregivers Parents Conference, Journey to Joy, Wellness, and Wholeness. Thank you for joining us. We'd like to welcome you to the Urban Indigenous Education Center presentation on Indigenous perspectives on Journey to Joy, Wellness, and Wholeness. We've already started with land acknowledgement earlier at the beginning of the presentation with the keynote, and Elder Clayton Shirt and Tracy also had some wonderful words about Grandma Pauline, so thank you. I wanted to share this version of the land acknowledgement because it is really a beautiful way to kind of demonstrate, and there's a really artistic way of kind of sharing this story here, especially of the history in Toronto. So I'm just going to play this here. Let me know if you have any trouble. I know we're having some technical glitches, but let me know if this works out, if you guys can hear that on your end.
At the moment, I'm hearing no sound.
Okay, let me see what I can do.
I have seen this video before, though.
Okay, then let's...
It's a really wonderful video.
Perfect. We'll jump right into our introductions because I know we're a little bit behind. So I'll pass it over to Tracy to start.
Okay. All right, Ani Bonjour. My name is Tracy McKenzie. My spirit name is Standing Firm Like the Timberwolf, Gabu Mayangan Kwe. I am Wolf Clan. I am of Anishinaabe and Mohawk. I'm from the Mississauga First Nation number 8, and that is located north Ontario, close to Sault Ste. Marie. I'm also one of 6 territories that make the Mississauga Nation. Within those 6 territories, we have Mississaugas of Scugog, Mississaugas of the Credit, we have Hiawatha First Nation, Alderville, and we have Curve Lake, and of course, my community of the Mississaugas in Northern Ontario. So I am one of 2, as you can see, Tessa and I are partners here in the Urban Indigenous Education Center. We are community liaisons, and I will let Tessa introduce herself, and then we'll just give you a high level overview of what we do and what our roles and responsibilities are.
Thank you, Tracy. So again, welcome. My name is Tessa Still, Community Liaison, alongside with Tracy at the Urban Indigenous Education Center. I've been with the center since before it was even called UIEC. It was actually called the Aboriginal Education Center back when I started in 2008. We had a little bit of a name change at about, I think, 1918. So now we're the Urban Indigenous Education Center, and we are currently located alongside the Wandering Spirit School at the old Eastern Commerce building, which is on Danforth, and I guess the other major intersection would be, I guess, Donlands or like Jones. So that's where we're situated right now and where we work out of. I identify as Chilcotin First Nation, which is the people of the Red Orchard River. And my family members reside Chilcotin country, which is kind of interior BC, so kind of right within the mountains of BC, Williams Lake. People are kind of familiar with Kamloops, so kind of in that area there. I'm a mother of 2 boys, Ethan and Ryan, that keep me super busy. They just recently got into hockey, so we're kind of in that kind of realm right now. So after this, I got to run over to a hockey game, so that's kind of what life is like right now. But I'm also a daughter of a residential school survivor. My mom is the survivor of the St. Joseph Missions Residential School, which is also located in BC. And my mom also works at the Urban Indigenous Education Center. She's actually the office administrator there, the OA. So if you ever connect with us, she's kind of the first person to answer the phones and direct you to kind of Tracy and I in the different departments that we work with. So that's a little bit about us. I know we have such a small group here, and I do see a familiar face, but I'm not sure if you guys feel comfortable. But if you wanted to do a little bit of a circle, and let me just turn my camera back on because it kind of went off there. But if you guys wanted to share maybe your name, where you're coming from, maybe you have a student at a school or you're connected with a school, I'd love to kind of know who's in the room with us here. If you're comfortable, you can totally pass. I totally understand.
Hi.
Hey, Ray.
So happy to see you.
You too.
I'm Marie Louie. I'm a teacher. I'm not at Bala anymore. I'm in ECPP, so that's kind of what other teachers known as Section 23, but we're not called that anymore. And I worked with Tessa a long, long time ago before this was called AEC,
Yeah.
when it was called AEC.
Yes.
Um, and this is just like coming home. I'm
Yeah.
just so happy to be here. Hello.
It's so good to see you, Roy.
And hi to your mom. I'm so glad to hear that your mom is still the OA. It's like,
It's still-
it's good. Things have not changed so much, and I haven't missed so much.
So we do say it's like a little bit of a family at UIC, previous AEC. So Roy Louie was a teacher that we worked with in past. So it's so good to see you again, Roy. And I'll pass it over, Deanne, if you wanted to say a few
Yeah.
words, please. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Hello, I'm Deanne. I use all pronouns. Um, my family is European settlers. We now live in so-called Toronto. I'm a final year teacher candidate, so I'll hopefully be teaching in schools in September. And right now I'm doing my placement in the TDSB. And
Awesome.
yeah, I actually did some online snooping and like once like my TDSB email and got access to all the websites, I was able to
Yeah.
actually I just found I already forget the name. Oh, the Urban Indigenous Education Center. I was like, oh, there's a committee that's cool. Maybe I'll join it. And then I found this conference and I saw you guys had a thing and I was like, oh, that's so perfect. Stars are aligning. I'll come and meet some
Ah.
humans. Yeah,
I'm
so
so glad
excited
you
to
were able to
learn.
join us.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Awesome. And I appreciate both of you for taking that time to introduce yourself. So thank you so much. So we'll go on to our next. That was actually a little bit of my Chilcotin language. I'm kind of trying to learn it. So I put a little soundbite in there of kind of what a greeting would be like in my language. So that was that. So Urban Indigenous Education Center, as I said, we've been with the board since 2008, and we work within Truth and Reconciliation of the Commission of Canada, so that's the call to action, and also the UNDRIP, which is the United Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People. So that really guides the work of the Indigenous Education Center. We also our work falls under kind of what we call 7 canopies. And this was kind of worked through with our elders council. So our kind of focus canopies would be student voice, professional learning, community engagement, which Tracy and I really are heavily involved in, partnerships. I oversee partnerships, so bringing community in to partner with us to be vetted so that they can go in and work with our students and staff. Programming, curriculum and develop, research and innovation, and policy governance and Indigenous rights. So those are kind of our main focus areas in the work that we do. And Deanne, as you said, we've got our website there, which kind of shares a little bit about staff and some of the other stuff that we have going on at the center. So feel free to kind of jump on there to kind of get the latest updates on kind of what we're doing as well. There you also find information on the UICAC, which I'm going to give it over to Tracy to share a little bit about that work because that kind of involves the parents, the community, our stakeholders, and really great work that we're doing with senior team and the board.
Okay, Miigwech Tessa. Okay, so the Urban Indigenous Education Center, we do have a committee, as you know, throughout TDSB. There are a lot of committees that flow through the TDSB, but with the Urban Indigenous Education Center, we have what we call UICAC, which stands for Urban Indigenous Community Advisory Committee. So basically what we do is this committee is, we invite all community members, especially our Indigenous community. And the problem that we have, across the TDSB is that we don't have enough voice, right? So that's why we have this committee. And even if we have parents that are not familiar with the Indigenous education piece within the TDSB, we invite you to come and listen, to one of our meetings. So basically, like Tessa said, what we cover. So there's a lot of things that happen in our committee. We have trustees that are, trustees that choose to come into our committee because of the interest and the advocating that they do to change policies and procedures when it comes to the Indigenous education piece. So they're very important. And right now, the two trustees that we have are Trustee Deborah Williams and Trustee Sarah Earnhardt. And they've been with us for a couple of years, and great work. And, they walk beside us. So the trustees basically are responsible when we would like to bring a motion forward to board. We have the trustees that would go into board and advocate for us with a motion to get it passed. If it doesn't get passed, then we go back to the table and have conversations and bring it back to board. And the one thing that's very important as well is when we talk about truth and reconciliation, we have a total of 94 calls to action that have been recommended to the Government of Canada for these certain calls to be implemented. Out of the 94 calls to action, we only have 13 calls that have been addressed. So there's a lot of work that still needs to be done with Canada into implementing those 94 calls. The other thing we do, so we invite our ONSE schools. So our ONSE schools are schools within the TDSB that have a high population of Indigenous students. We invite them to the table as well to provide updates on curriculum, events, and everything that they have going on in the school and what they're doing. We're also guiding those ONSE schools as well when it comes to trauma, when it comes to triggers of our students, when we talk about intergenerational trauma. So we have a team that is ready to go out to do service to these schools, to the principals, the admins, the teachers, but most importantly for our community, right? Our caregivers and the children that we serve. So that's really important because there's lots of things that transpires within the schools that you don't know about. So it's kind of like things that are behind the scene, but we address them. And when it comes to bullying, we take that very seriously when it comes to our culture. But there's lots of things that we do. So if you're interested in coming to one of those meetings, just to listen to what's happening with the schools that have that high Indigenous population, you're more than welcome to come and join us. As well, you hear the trustees, as well as one of our executive directors, Jim Spiropoulos, and our Indigenous superintendent, Tanya Sank, talk and address items and issues that happen within the school. And that also is the education piece when it comes to the ministry, and what changes we need to make and what changes are being implemented. So there's a lot, and sometimes it can be very political, but that's nothing new, right? I mean, read the newspaper, right? There's nothing that isn't political these days. So so that's pretty much what we do at the UICAC. So I oversee that. That's in my portfolio. So again, if you're interested, you can let me know. Tessa, we have our emails on this presentation somewhere, right?
Yeah, and I'll put those in the chats before we end our session so that you guys can have our contact information. Along just at the bottom of our slide here is the main number for the center, which you can connect with us. And also the website has our contact information as well. But we will definitely put that in the chat for folks. And as Tracy was saying, she does a wonderful work with the community at the UICAC. Also works alongside one of our wonderful elders, a part of our Elders Council, Dr. Joanne Delaire, who is also the elder sitting at TMU. So we're so lucky to have our Elders Council to guide the work that we're doing. And as Tracy had honored, one of our elders, part of the Elders Council, had passed in May of the previous school year. So we're just really wanting to continue her legacy and her good work in a good way. So thank you, Tracy, for that. I'll move on to our next slide. Let's see. So in speaking about Indigenous perspectives on wellness and joy and wholeness, we really think about kind of the medicine wheel and kind of touching upon the 4 points. So mind, mental, physical, like body, spirit. We kind of want to make sure that we're all balanced in those 4 realms. So we'll kind of go through those. So the first one is kind of mind and mental. So a couple of things that we really try to look at as Indigenous folks to really kind of keep that balance is to make sure that we are surrounded by traditional knowledge keepers, our elders who really guide us in the spiritual work that we do. We take guidance on how we move forward in the good work, how we guide the next generation of children that we're working with and that are in our families. A lot of meditation, so taking that time as well to just really pause, reflect. A lot of times things tend to move quite fast. Our elders have taught us that we really need to slow down, listen to our bodies, listen to our minds, listen to the spirits, and really take time to sit in ceremony and listen to what it is our spirits are trying to guide us to do in this work. So that's really important. Tracy, I don't know if you want to comment on traditional knowledge and wisdom and meditation, just how kind of you use it, how that affects you in your wellness, wholeness, and wanting to feel joy in your journey.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to make a couple comments here. You know, these steps, you know, that Tessa has on here sometimes don't always work. So one thing I just want to bring forward is that we're in the trenches, right? We are working with intergenerational trauma with our communities, our students, our families. We're knee deep into this stuff. So sometimes it's really hard to follow our system here because not only are we supporting these families and students, but we're also being triggered. I'm second generation residential school survivor, right? I know what trauma is. I know what intergenerational trauma is. I live it every single day, 24/7, 365 days a year. So I can't shut off as easy as some other people because after the day that we've had, depending on what it is, it's hard to come home and decompress because your mind is constantly going on what has happened in that day or the day before or that week. I can tell you just with the schools that I support. So I support the East End. So I support our Native Learning Center East, which is adjacent to Laurier, as well as Eastview Public School that has a very high population of Indigenous students. After my workday, I support those communities as cultures and traditions coordinator in the community, specifically Gabriel Dumont, non-profit housing, because the population of our tenants and the children go to these 2 schools. So I can tell you what it's like to get a call at 11 o'clock at night from one of our property managers because they need me on site because there's been an overdose. And this overdose can be from a 15-year-old. It can be from a 60-year-old. And children are watching this, the whole community. So how do I support a community when they've just witnessed this trauma? It ain't easy. So it's very important that we stay connected with our healers, our knowledge keepers. Clayton Shirt, for instance, I refer to him as my brother. We're very close. And when I'm having those days, I call him. Another healer that I use, James Carpenter, who knows this community very, very well and the dynamics. I will call upon him to help me get through the rest of my evening, right? And Elder Pauline Shirt, who I call Grandma, because she was Grandma. She was my best friend. She was my auntie. She was my mother. She was everything to me. And that is a big loss for me. And that's why, it's very hard sometimes to get through the day, because we kind of always think about what's going to happen today. We talk about gun violence. We talk about, our youth bringing guns into the schools, the knives, the fighting, the racism, the bullying. This is what we deal with every single day. Now, I'm a little bit different than Tessa. Tessa's very soft spoken. I'm not. So when it comes to the community and these children, I know very, very well as their parents and the dynamics. I don't take things lightly here with these guys. I have serious conversations, and I basically have to put it in black and white. If you continue with this type of behavior, you're headed to the system with no chance. And that's what we do. We try to prevent our youth from heading into that direction. We have a lot of students that don't think they need to go to school, right? They need to go to school, so we have to deal with the attendance piece. And, they don't, and the majority of these children are looking for attention, looking for love, right? And it's hard because we have a lot of children that don't know. I have 2 students right now, 2 brothers. When they come to school, you know how they come to school? They sit outside of in the hallway of the classroom, sleeping. They don't even engage. They don't even come into the class. They're marked absent every single day. That is serious trauma. And females, as Anishinaabe Kways, we can't speak to them because they don't want to speak to the women. But then when we have a non-Indigenous teacher who's very well educated in the culture because they've been a part of our culture for many, many years, can't even speak to them. So we have a lot of these roadblocks that we try to, push away, push to the side during the day. So it's very, very hard sometimes for me to come home to meditate or try to have a good night's sleep. Sometimes it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. So, but it is important to us and to our spirits that we do that. Like this morning, I don't know if you can see my smudge pan. It's quite full. I did a big smudge today, right? Because I know what I'm going to be talking about. So I need to keep myself grounded when I'm speaking, right? And I did that this morning on the opening with Clayton. And this is one of the things that we have to do is smudging, cleansing ourselves. Cleanse ourselves at the beginning of the day and cleanse ourselves at night before we go to bed, right? To try and not forget about what happened, but try to have our spirit rest so that we can wake up the next day ready to go again, but not forget what has happened. We never forget. It's always going to be on the back burner, right? And then try and get through the next day. It's very challenging. People don't understand the work that we do, right? So that's just a small piece of, what we do on a daily basis. Miigwech. And I like to talk a lot, so just so you know, if I'm talking too much, just say, okay, Tracy. You're on mute, Tessa.
Okay, there we go. So as Tracy has mentioned, it does take a lot for us to kind of find that balance because there has been so much challenges in community and the work that we do is quite tough. But really making that dedicated time to make sure that we are okay so that we can serve the community. Because as you know, if we are not okay, we're really no good to community, our families, our the people that are around us, our friends. So we really have to make sure that we dedicate that time to look after ourselves. Even myself, I had a point in life where maybe I wasn't finding that balance and I had to actually take some time off to really focus on self-care and work on that recovery to get that balance again. So sleep, rest, recover. Sometimes you really do need to put on the brakes and listen to your body and your mind when they kind of tell you, hey, this is too much, it's too overwhelming, maybe it's a burnout, but you really have to kind of listen to those signs. And in ceremonies, when you kind of take that time to pause and connect with Mother Earth, with the medicines, you start reconnecting again. So a lot of times we are too busy. We get, the city is so fast, and it doesn't allow time for a lot of this stuff. So um, part of the work that we do is just really advocating for, even something as simple as having a student start off the day with a smudge, just so that they're starting the day in a good way, because we say that a smudge, and that's our sacred medicine that we use. It's sage that we burn that gives us positive energy, healing. It cleanses. We do that with students in school sometimes, just so that they can feel that they're starting off on a good way. But even something as small as that tiny little ceremony can make a difference in a student's life for their whole day. And we get a lot of requests that, maybe there isn't somebody that can do that in the school. So maybe it might be calling the UIEC and saying, hey, there's a student that is having some difficulty, maybe having this small ceremony available to that student might benefit them possibly, and then kind of take it from there and build upon that. So that's kind of the one piece there. So as I say, while we are kind of finding that balance, is finding ways to kind of celebrate. So November, as some of you might know, is Indigenous Education Month in the board. We try to take this time to really highlight and celebrate some of the um, achievements in our community, some of the great work that's being done, have community members really speak about, that great work that's being done in community. So we have our partners and guest speakers come and do a number of things in the month of November that is board wide. This is one of our past calendar events, so it's something that teachers or students can kind of sign into and see kind of the different things that we have going on. So around Treaty Week, we do a whole week of different workshops. We also have on-site sessions in Circle at the UIUC. But that's just a little bit about celebrating the achievements of Indigenous folks, and just really coming together. Like this past week on, what was it, Thursday, Wednesday, we had a drum social at the KWSS, and that was kind of in combination with parent teacher interview that was happening. But this is a way to kind of gather community around drumming, around music, dance, food, uh, just kind of creating that space so that we can come together and celebrate one another. And that was really beautiful to see. So that's kind of one way. And here's the other kind of component, is the heart and the emotional. So that may look something like doing some counseling. So for example, at the UIC, we have the chance to work with Elder Joanne to support staff. Because of the challenging work that we do, we carry a lot of trauma, not only with our own journey of just being Indigenous people and some of the stuff that we face day to day, that we walk with, but even in the work that we do, it's an everyday thing. So a lot of times we also need that time to sit with an elder just to provide guidance, to give us some healing. Um, and just to connect, to really connect, to say, there's a reason why we're doing this good work. Um, just to remind us that, to keep going, that we're all here, we're all, like I said, a family, we're supporting each other, to really kind of encourage us and to provide us guidance to kind of keep going. So she's been a real staple at the UIC in the work that we're doing to support staff. Counseling, elders connection. We also have another elder that sits with us in our elders council. His name is Dr. Duke Redbird. He has been doing this work for over 50 years. He's got an amazing website that has a huge archive of videos, photographs, news articles of the work that he's been doing around Indigenous education for the past 50 years. So we're very lucky to have him on site to work with us and to guide us and to support us in the work as we move forward. He was also very heavily responsible for the 7 canopies, which kind of guide our work as we move forward. So we're really lucky to have Elder Duke Redbird. And I believe he's going to be starting he has an art exhibit that he had, I want to say before COVID going. We put a little bit of a pause during COVID, but we're hoping to get that back up. It's called Welln, and it's an art exhibit housed at 16 Finn at the UIEC. So we're hoping to get that. So once that's going, we'll put out an announcement either on the website or in the system for folks to walk through that and get that, be able to see some wonderful artwork and some teachings around that in his stories. Um, Tracy, did you want to touch on maybe some healing circles and family?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think I pretty much said it in the last slide, right? But one of the things that I do, if I have a family and I can identify some of the things that are happening pretty quickly, again, because I have the relationships with the families and I know the dynamics at home. What we'll do is first we'll ask if they would like to meet with an elder and to have a conversation. We don't force anybody to do anything, but we let them know that if they want, to meet with that elder, and that elder connection does everything that's here. It does counseling, it does healing circles, right? So depending on what's actually happening, if they want to have that session, I would then coordinate that session. Now, if there are youth that want to see an elder to have counseling, then they can do that as well on their own. So we have a two-part, right? We have the family circle, or we'll just have the youth. And I do that with the tenants at Gabriel Dumont, the families there, twice a month. They have one-on-ones with our healer, James Carpenter. And they pick if whoever the healer is that they have that relationship with, that's who I call upon. Right. So even though we have healers and residents, it's up to the family who they want to have that circle with. Right. So, yeah.
And I'm just looking at time. I just realized because we had a little bit of a technical, we had some technical issues at the beginning. We've only have about 5 minutes left. So I'm going to try to see if we can get kind of our full presentation in. So let's see what we've got. So speaking about kind of community events that kind of help us connect and celebrate Indigenous culture and some of the events that we have kind of going on, which are also volunteer opportunities, is we do every year summer and winter solstice events. We also do throughout the year community drum socials. As I mentioned, we had one this week at the Wandering Spirit School. Youth community and parent circles that we do at the on-site schools, which are schools with higher Indigenous population. We have Indigenous partnership gatherings. So that's with our partners that we have vetted for the board. We usually do gatherings to kind of come together, do workshops to support them in the work that they're doing alongside us. We have opportunity fairs, job fairs, and post-secondary fairs that happen at UIEC. And again, November, Indigenous Education Month in the board. June 21st being National Indigenous Peoples Day, we do a celebration around that day. But we also allow staff to be off that day just to enjoy celebrations in the community and be able to connect just for us to allow to connect with community as well. And of course, the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, Orange Shirt Day, which was September 30th. So that has passed, and we were able to provide a number of schools with orange shirts to represent that day, which was really wonderful. We got a ton of photos from different schools, just sharing their the way that they were representing at their schools, so which was really lovely.
So Tessa,
yeah.
can we go back?
Yes, this one? Oh, Trace, you're muted.
So one thing I just noticed here, and probably my fault, is Indigenous Veterans Day.
Oh, yes.
So
there's definitely, this is a very short list. There's definitely a lot missing here. It would have been 15 pages. So yes, yeah, we definitely missed Veterans Day, and yeah, this is definitely not all that we do, guys. It's a much longer list. Tracy, did you want to mention anything else that you feel that we should mention in this list here in addition to veterans?
Oh yeah, our powwows,
Yeah, that's
right?
true. That's a big one.
So yeah, so we have so Wandering Spirit Kapapa Machikwe has a powwow every year. Normally it's in June. This year we did it in May, and we got quite a bit of community and other schools within the area that come to this event. I can't even tell you how many people we had this year, but it was packed. Tessa and I, we had feet like Bilbo Baggins. Our feet at the end of the day were like this, honest to God, because we're on the walkie talkies. Tessa, Tracy, everybody. And it's like, oh my God, it's like, our heads were spinning. It was like, okay, right? So that powwow follows under Tessa's portfolio because she supports Kapapa Machikwe. For my portfolio, I do the Southeast Scarborough powwow, and this year we normally we do it in June, but it's too much. I'm getting too old for these big events back to back. So I pushed my event out to September, and not realizing, but we did it on September the 11th. And we had, and we did it outside, and it was beautiful. It was, I would say we had about 700 people at our community event. It's amazing. So we partner also with neighborhood police officers, which are called NCOs, neighborhood community officers. And for me, it's 43 Division. And we've built a really good relationship there with the community and 43 Division. We also have our Aboriginal peacekeeping unit that's located down at headquarters that play a very pivotal role in our events. Right. So I look forward to our winter solstice that's coming up and getting ready. I mean, Tessa and I are already planning powwows for next year. I mean, that's how busy it gets. Right. So hopefully we'll see you at one of the powwows, either Southeast Scarborough, which is Eastview Public School, or at Kapapa Machikwe. And we'll have bulletins posted, and they will go on the UIC website as well.
And I'm just looking at time. Feel free if you do have to log off. I completely understand. We really appreciate you being here. If you can stick around, if they do allow us, we'll kind of continue and try to finish off the rest of our presentation. Thank you, Tracy, for mentioning those wonderful powwows, because they are really lovely to bring community. Tracy's powwow, the Southeast Scarborough powwow, has been going on how many annual? What is the 15th annual? So it's been going on.
I think it's at 18.
See, this is exactly what I mean.
Years.
Like, so much good work being done that I can't even keep track of what the annual is. So thank you, Tracy, but really lovely. If you ever get a chance to come out to any of those powwows, we would so love to have you guys. So feel free, once we kind of put that out, that you guys are totally welcome to come and join us. I'm going to see if I can quickly see what we've got left here. So just in regards to body and physical, we always are reminded to, when we come together, traditional foods and feast. We're so lucky to have on site at KWSS, Indigenous sovereignty chefs. We have just been blessed with the most wonderful foods like wild meats, really being able to feast as traditional people. In addition to that, traditional dances, so just making sure like at powwows, we're able to demonstrate our culture in different dances, fancy grass. If you've ever been to a powwow, you'll see these lovely regalias and just how passionate these dancers are, and you could see their spirit just really there on the powwow floor. So if you've ever been out, kind of the drum is a heartbeat. It really touches you. Again, another thing for body and physical is sweat lodges. If you've ever had the opportunity to be a part of sweat lodges, I know Tracy's been. I have some medical conditions which doesn't allow me to. So unfortunately, I have not been able to, but Tracy has definitely been able to, and she can maybe you won't be able to speak because I got to run through this, Trace, but I know they've been really healing. Is that right, Tracy?
They are very, very intense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very intense.
Yeah.
And I usually lose about 5 pounds every time I do a sweat lodge. I'm just saying, yeah, very, very intense, very intense. But I just want to talk about the traditional dance quickly for 1 second, Tessa. because let's talk about regalia, right? So regalia that our dancers are wearing have taken a long time to make, and they're sacred items, right? And we got to remember when we have our powwows, they're ceremonial and very, very sacred, right? Because once we start that sacred fire, what we're doing is we're inviting all our ancestors to come in for the celebration. And one thing I get asked a lot about wanting to take pictures, right, at a powwow. It is forbidden to take a picture at grand entry, right? Because that's the opening of our ceremony. And people kind of struggle with that, but that's okay. But you'll be giving the go ahead from the MC when you can start taking pictures or filming. And when we want photos with our dancers, we always have to ask. We just don't assume we can go up there and take a picture, right? And we never touch the regalia. We never touch the regalia because it's very sacred.
Thanks, Tracy. And we'll move on to spirit and spiritual. We all are spiritual beings. The way that we honor our spirit is by receiving traditional teachings, being by the drum, being able to hear our singers, being able to use our sacred medicines. And one very important, as Grandma Pauline would say, is language, being able to be connected to language, hearing language in ceremony. Unfortunately, my mom was a residential school survivor, so I didn't have the benefit to learn language. She tried to hold on to language as well as much as she could, and I do, love to see when she does go back to be with family, she does bring that out again. So it's so lovely to kind of see that, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to kind of pick that up. So I do my best to kind of go on my it's a Chilcotin language play, and they've got little audio bits, which I played earlier in my presentation, just to keep that around me and to remind me and to hear that and to make sure that my ancestors know that I'm trying to keep that language alive. Even though I don't know it, just surround myself, even for my little ones, just to keep that around. And Tracy would also agree that language is so important. So let's see what we got next. So this is actually our elder Joanne Delaire. Just wanted to share, of course, that she's doing important work with us. So just to honor her. And then that'll bring us to the end because now we're 5 minutes over. So I appreciate you guys sticking around for that. So thank you. And this is thank you in a couple of our different Indigenous languages. And if there was any questions that you guys have for anybody who's still around, we would definitely open that up. Tracy, I don't know if you had anything else to say, but just we really super appreciate you guys being here with us and taking the time to hear us out. And thank you so much. Tracy, any last words? And I'm just going to stick our contact information in the chat here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, awesome. Really can volunteer. That's amazing. I'll add you to our list of different events that we have going on. Perfect.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, right? So when we have these events, we're always looking for community involvement, right? So please feel free to send Tessa and myself an email. And for those parents that may be in the east end of Toronto, I'm currently scheduling a drum social at Eastview Public School for December the 11th. So if there's anybody in the East End, you're more than welcome to come and join us for some drumming and feast and dancing with the community. And that starts at 6 p.m. So it goes from like 6 to 8.
Wonderful. All right, folks, that is all for us. If you'd love to leave your email, I can definitely add you to my emailing list that I send out with kind of different events that we have going on. Feel free to leave your email in the chat and we'll take that down. I've left both mine and Tracy's email if you guys would like to connect with us after this. Any questions or anything that you guys have, feel free to send that to us. We'd be happy to connect with you guys, okay? Thank you so much. I'm not sure if the conference is done, but if it's not, enjoy the rest of the conference, guys. Bye now. Take care.
Miigwech, Bamapi.
Miigwech, guy. Bamapi.
Miigwech, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay.
Mama
I'm just
P.
copying down the email.
Perfect. Yeah. I won't close it. I'll let you guys get a chance to take down
Thank you.
those emails.
So
Um,
I'm going to ask Deanne, did you send
mhm.
me an email about the UICAC?
I did actually,
Okay,
yeah, a few
perfect. I
days
seen it.
ago.
Okay,
Okay,
so
beautiful.
I will respond. So the meeting's been pushed out to the 26th because we've had some
Okay,
calendar conflicts, but I'll send the meeting invite to you. I'm
thank
actually
you.
heading out Tuesday for a conference, and I'm not back until next Saturday. But once I get back, I'll send you that. Actually, I'll just send you the invite right now while we're on here.
I
I'll
appreciate
send you
that.
the link. Okay.
Roger. 26.
Okay. Let me find it here.
Awesome. We had
What?
a couple of technical glitches, but I think we got it. We were all right at the end. And we got a couple more joining us at the end, so that was great.
It was really
Right.
nice.
Okay.
One more question. Could I ask what the solstice is? Like the event that you guys are doing for the winter solstice?
Yeah, Trace, do you want, while you're doing that, I'll explain kind of the winter
Yeah.
solstice. So we have the winter solstice, which usually is December 20th. Um, but usually around that time, we do ceremonies to welcome the next season. So it's going to be winter. We kind of do a ceremony to welcome the winter solstice. So that could look like a drum social, feast. So we'll have drumming, dancing, some regalia. We'll be feasting some traditional foods. And during that time, because we know community is sometimes struggling, we also do a little bit of a either a food hamper, so maybe like turkey and some dry food goods so that they can take over the winter break. We also do some gift bags, winter solstice gift bags, because we don't really celebrate Christmas in the community. We call it winter solstice, but we have some gifts for the children for over the holidays. So we also put in there some traditional medicine so that they can have and that they can use over the break. So that kind of is what that looks like. But it's a way for community to kind of come together. It's a way for us to kind of support community, knowing that it can be a challenging times. Yeah, but it's all very beautiful. We have donation open right now for folks looking to donate to our event. So we've sent those letters throughout community. And like we have some really great donors like Scotiabank. Who else have we had? Chum wish list. A couple of really good folks that have really helped us make this event beautiful year and year again. Yeah,
Beautiful. Thank you. I
you're welcome.
appreciate the extra time.
Yeah, not a worries. Thank you for sticking around, and thank you for. I know I saw you kind of in there while I was trying to figure out the glitches at the beginning, so thank you for your
No
patience.
worries. Okay.
You
I'm
mean
really glad that
my
it worked.
glitches? Yeah.
The internet doing its thing.
Yeah. Okay. So Deanne, I just sent you the Zoom link. Can you just check to make sure that you received it?
I'm opening now. Okay. Oh, I saw something come in. Yes. Okay. I got it.
Okay. Beautiful. Beautiful. So if you have any issues the day of, just let me know.
Beautiful. Okay. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Okay.
Awesome. Enjoy the rest
Yeah.
of the conference, Deanne.
You
Okay.
too.
Perfect.
Oh, good.
Bye bye.
Take care. We're dead. Okay, you know what? Let's not, because we're still being recorded. Call
Okay.
me.
All right. You call me. Okay.
Call me.
Okay.
Thanks, Trace.
Bye.
All right.